Welcome back. We are living through some terrible fucking times here, but today we're going to take you back to a worse time, 1987, when Ginties were allowed to run amok. Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
And 87 is the year of the baby boy Griff's birth, and I'm still calling it the worst time ever.
It was the best of times. It was the worst.
Exactly. We could have nixed that year. We got no Griff. We got no podcast, but we wouldn't have Robert Ginty, and I think that's a net plus.
Yeah, Griff. Let's just be real. We're whores. We'll do anything. If someone gives us something, we'll let them on the show. And this is why we have our guest on today. He sent us. He was kind enough to send us some. Kind enough and cruel enough. I don't know what the phrase is. He sent us some Ginty T-shirts, and I was flattered and enraged at the same time. And I was like, I need to reward you and punish you.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming on. Longtime Twitter friend, by the way. You're coming on and you're doing a Ginty movie with us. You're going to suffer with us. You're going to experience, because people don't realize what we go through when we do a Ginty movie. Griff and I, we fast for 2 days beforehand because the first time we vomited in the mic.
Yes.
Mattingly had to clean it for days.
Mattingly makes an appearance in this movie.
He does make an appearance in this movie. And so it's rough on us, dude. It's arduous.
Right. This is our desert trip. We need a guide to take us through it, and thankfully, we got one of the greatest Ginty guides of all time.
Yeah, this is our Ginty. I mean, let's see. We've got our lycanthropist Chris, expert on all cryptozoology.
Amazing.
Jack Baudelaire, our weapons master.
Excellence.
Abra, our expert on bottomless strip clubs.
And helicopters.
And helicopters. Well, our father was, not really sure.
She said she took a lot of that knowledge.
Well, did she absorb it?
Yeah.
Just from the womb?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the girl on Dune, the daughter.
So
now we have a gintologist.
It took me a minute to process that. A gintologist.
Our new main man, Phil DeGlass. Was that Jan's made-up boyfriend from Brady Bunch? I think it was Phil Glass.
Ooh, interesting. Phil, you got any comment about that?
Is that where you got it, Phil?
I didn't mean to steal it from the Brady Bunch, but it's good to be here to talk about my favorite topic today, Robert Ginty. I'm excited.
I guess somebody's got to have Ginty as their favorite topic.
Somebody has, yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
There's a lot of avenues to discover. It's just like the nauseating effect of Robert Ginty, the offensive, how offensive a face can be with Robert Ginty. There's a lot of things. They're usually associated with negative things, but I mean, you made a career out of it, so bravo.
Yeah, you know that Robert Ginty was a musician. He was a drummer. He was a drummer for Hendrix and Joplin.
What?
Yeah, look it up. Yeah.
These two things can't exist in the same world.
No, he has rhythm.
That totally makes sense because they both died choking on their own vomit. So
you know that part about his life.
Yeah, so I think
I would believe it if he was in one of those bands that wear black hoods over their faces, I think the Mentors did or something.
Yeah, the Mentors make an appearance in this movie.
They do, yeah.
El Duce's in this movie.
I could imagine Ginty in a band like the Mentors. I can't imagine him in a band where his face is. Do they have the Neil Peart drum kit maybe where he's hidden?
No, I've never seen him actually perform, but apparently he got into acting. He wasn't actually into acting, which is shocking, seeing his body of work. But yeah,
is it shocking? I mean,
apparently
he can barely act.
Yeah, he was in a movie where he was in the band playing for somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, you should be an actor," and then the rest is history. He was on the Paper Chase. Everybody watched that.
Who the fuck said that? Were they joking? Yeah, you should be an actor. You have the perfect butt face for it. Your butthole mouth and your butt cheek jowls. Fucking piece of shit, Robert Ginty.
Yeah, he's great. I agree.
He had a mullet in this movie that just...
Well, it was the late 80s. You had to have a mullet.
It was so disturbing, though.
It's on Ginty. Of course it's disturbing.
But it's okay, some mullets, it's whatever. I get it. Mullets. But he had that, tight back,
What did you like better, his hair in this one or his hair in the Murder, She Wrote episode? where it looked like he had, like Aubrey said, like he had a wig on top of a wig.
That is such a hard thing to say, because he was constantly puckering his little butt cheek mouth in this, whereas last week he was hiding behind Jessica Fletcher constantly. So I have to go with last week's hair, because he was constantly hiding behind Jessica, not so much because of the hair. But this one, full frontal mullet, not into it.
He's looking sharp. Best.
Well, no, when you're talking about it's Ginty, it's best to be drunk. And Phil, you have a drink that you prepared for Maniac Killer. We're still not sure what this movie's called. Is it Maniac Killer? Is it Maniac Killer? What's the drink? What's the drink, Phil?
Yeah, the drink is. So what I did is, in the movie, we'll talk about it later, but there's this giant bowl of sangria. Now, that would take me like a couple of days to make that, so I didn't make that. What I did is I made a beer cocktail for today, and it's a Belgian wit beer mixed with a Founders. So you guys are up near there, right? Founders isn't
Founders, yeah.
Grand Rapids.
Yep.
So I got a Dirty Bastard.
Yep.
So I mixed the wit beer and the Dirty Bastard. So the Dirty Bastard is like your Ginty, and the wit beer is the wit beer, and I call the cocktail the half wit.
There you have.
I do. I'm drinking it right now. It's delicious. You just mix half and half. It's beautiful.
So put on pause, make that drink. You're gonna need it for this fucking movie.
I believe the Dirty Bastard is something like 9% or something too. Yeah. So you'll be feeling that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I haven't eaten all day, so I'm ready.
Oh, geez, you're gonna be ready to go.
He's prepared too. He didn't want to vomit on his first experience.
Yeah,
Golan-Globus.
You got to be careful. Well, don't drink too many of those, otherwise it might turn to vomit. But my God, I'm glad you bring up halfway, because I don't know who the villains are supposed to be in this movie. I don't know who the good guys are supposed to be in, because everybody.
I don't know why this movie exists. I was watching it. I'm like, who said, "Hey, yes, I want to fund this movie"?
Right.
There was no script for this
We have
movie.
a huge problem with time. Well, we always have problems with time in movies, but the time that it actually took to film this movie, because we have a discrepancy in when this debuted. 81 or 87, and I believe Phil had some information.
Maybe Maniac Killer debuted in 81 and Maniac in 87.
That might be the answer. So the director of Maniac Killer is Andrea Bianchi, who is billed as Frank Drew White in this movie, which I guess is what it is in Italian or whatever he's from.
Why was Drew White in all caps? Because it said Frank. And then it was like Drew White.
I don't remember that.
That was the credit.
It was like foreshadowing Matthew on the computer doing Memes Paint or something.
Frank.
Yeah.
Drew.
But I think Andrea Bianchi, who directed the great Burial Ground. Everyone loves Burial Ground. Great movie.
The movie that
Patrick Still Lives. He was cranking those out in like villas in 1981, 82. So I think he filmed part of it, and then they picked up the footage and they finished it in 87 with all the Gintyisms.
So like in 81, like, guys, I found this footage. It's too good to let waste. Get Ginty and Chuck Connors on the phone.
We need a total fucking sex freak to get on here. Robert Ginty.
And while we're at it, Bo Svensson. Get him on there, too.
Yeah. I mean, it could have just been like a little sizzle reel to get people captivated, and they showed like the underground, the caverns, and the mutton chops.
I did want more of the sex cult. That was intriguing.
Yeah.
I wanted less of Ginty.
Less of Ginty. More people with hoods on their face, because if Ginty had a hood on his face, he's tolerable. Yeah. It's, I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
He's the best. Love Robert Ginty. Did you know that Robert? So the other theory I have is Robert Ginty, after like he did, what is the big movie he did with where he's burning people up and
Exterminator.
So after he did Exterminator, that movie made a lot of money. Like he was like addicted to wanting to be an action hero. So you guys did White Fire, unfortunately, and you did Warriors of the Wasteland. So he created his own film distribution company after I think with the money. Yeah, and he actually I think distributed all those garbage movies where he was the lead actor because he wanted to be an action star. So yeah, Ginty maneuvered his way into stardom and kind of bought his way onto the screen. So if you're curious, I think that's what happened. Like he was looking for something in his portfolio to put out, and we got Maniac Killer.
Oh, that actually makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were Ginty files, you know this, but
I mean, my biggest gripe with Ginty was always he's not a tough guy, and then Phil just laid it out. He's true, he's not a tough guy. He bought his way into toughness.
That makes perfect sense. He booked himself.
You did.
Yeah, I hate it, and at the same time, I understand now why Ginty made it to so many movies.
This is the kind of useless knowledge I have to share.
Well, that's why you're here. You're a Gintologist.
Yeah, something about your half-wits that you're drinking is allowing you to tap into Ginty's brain, and we're going to have to lean into that knowledge throughout this movie.
Ginty Films domain is still up. There's still a website for Ginty Films. I don't know. Someone just bought it off the scrap heap because it's not really Robert Ginty movies, but it still resolves to a website. Yeah.
Oh.
Ginty Films.
Well, now that we're aware of
Who's
it...
Who's wasting their time doing that?
Yeah, we're going to be working on getting that taken down. We do not believe in free speech, and Robert Ginty is certainly not free speech, so we're gonna nix that one.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this movie. I think we need to just get to the... Is there a trailer for this fucking movie?
There might be.
If there's not, we'll string one together. So, I don't even know what to say. Get your dimwits for halfwits.
Halfwits.
Get your halfwit ready.
We're gonna have to be
careful.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be very careful about this one. There's a very challenged character. Yes. I'll add in some audio of it so you know what we're talking about. But halfwit is the scientific term used in this movie, and we're gonna use it.
All right. So if you guys are living in 1981, get ready for Maniac Killer. If you're living in 1987. Get ready for a great trailer for Maniac Killer.
This is the ancestral book of perennial truth, written with blood for the descendants of our mighty and noble clan, whoever you shall be from now until doomsday. In the presence of the deity, creator and preserver of man's transcendental spirit, I solemnly admonish you to never forget. Purity cannot be preserved without fighting the Prince of Darkness, the arch-fiend, Satan. Torture! Only torture of the flesh can drive the demons from the bodies of impure and evil women. Just heed the iron pliers.
we just made you listen to. It might have been my cat vomiting. It might have been, like the birds outside.
Well, that's perfect
fighting.
sense because we open up with a cat.
We do. That's right, and it's a black cat. Like
I was getting like Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe vibes.
Yes.
Off of this.
And here's the black bastard himself, just laying in the table. He loves us talking about these horrible movies, and he just lays on the table in front of us and listens.
Yeah.
You don't like it.
And we see this cat, and we just hear the there's like the jowls that's jiggling.
Yeah.
And we're already like getting us in the mood for horror. Because by the way, like we're an action movie podcast, but like we said, we're whores. So if you give us a present, we'll let you pick whatever the fuck you want to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're going a little out there. It's not Schlocktober. It's Schlocktober in May right now.
Phil, you're on the East Coast too, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so yeah, we've been terrorized by the weather lately. So, it felt right to do some horror because of just the horrors of the weather lately.
The horrors of the world we're living in right now.
Exactly. Oh, yeah,
Horrible.
that too.
Are you eating a crab cake right now as we speak?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a crab cake sandwich. I've got some Old Bay that I'm sprinkling on my forehead. It's amazing.
Phil, let's just talk about The Wire. Why don't we just talk about The Wire?
Let's just talk about The Wire. Yeah. Bubbles.
Let's talk about The Wire. Let's just talk about The Wire.
I can say...
And Blair Witch Project. We're good.
I can say I've been to Maryland. My dad lived in Maryland in the late 80s, so I've been there.
Oh.
Did not have the crabs. Did not get crabs, did not have the crabs.
Excellent.
So we hear the jowls. We're already nauseous. It's like the brown sound, but it's the jowls sound.
Right. And then you hear feet, shoes kind of
grinding
against
jowls.
the ground. Oh, that was just jowls?
Yeah, that was jowls. You mistaken it.
I mistook, yeah.
But has Tarantino ever said he's been influenced by this movie? Because there's a lot of feet shots in this movie.
If he is, I have not come across that footage yet. And you know me. I only listen to Tarantino interviews.
There was that scene in Kill Bill where Uma Thurman bit a woman's nipple off. So he might be influenced by this director.
Right.
I think that he actually, when we get to it, I think that Reservoir Dogs stole the scene from Ginty's playroom at the end, actually.
Oh.
I think the ending of Reservoir Dogs was completely hacked from this movie. It's a shame. It's a shame Ginty didn't get credit for it.
You know what? I think you're right about that. I think I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll get to that, yeah.
That's intriguing.
Yeah. It does explain why there's a pinball machine in the background of Reservoir Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we get the boring credits.
You were really bored by the credits, I could tell.
This is okay. So this movie takes place in France for some reason. Is the director from France, or he's Italian, isn't he?
It's Italian or Spanish. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. It's all the same.
They're all the same.
It's Euro trash.
It's Euro scene. That's what it says. Euro scene.
Exactly right.
So we see.
But why is it a cat? Like, I know we just talked about the cat, and I know we got to move on. But I'm so puzzled by why you put a face of a cat there. What does that have to do with the movie?
Well,
what does anything have to do with it?
The animals played a part in the movie because we see
a
half-witted child cackling to himself throw the cat into a bag when the credits end.
Yes.
Are we sure the guy was a child? Because we know the director loves to use elderly men as children.
Wait, he does?
Yes. The movie Burial Ground has like a 50-year-old man playing a 12-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Pietro Bartolucci, which is billed as Peter Bark in Burial Ground. But we digress.
Back to Maniac Killer.
Okay.
All right, so we see a pimp putting his hoe in place.
Do we know immediately it's a pimp prostitute situation? Because I thought they were a couple.
No, I think it's pretty much played out that he's like, get back in there and shake your ass, woman. Make me some money.
Oh, I thought they were going to go home. You see, I read this.
Well, he slapped her, so I just assumed he was
I'm just so innocent. I heard this as a couple, like, spatting about going back home, and he's like, you don't clean your house well enough.
Well, Griff, we learned from the Mac, super underrated episode, by the way, that he wants to be her father, her friend, and her lover.
Yes, of course. So he was like Yeah, I'll come back to your place and fuck you. Did you clean it? And she's like, I cleaned it as best as ever. And he's like, you don't know how to clean. And then he smacked her across the face. Because she doesn't know how to clean.
The house or
the house?
Oh, I thought you were talking something else.
Oh,
did you
yeah,
clean?
no.
You know, she was out on the street.
Oh,
You
I
want
guess
the
it could be
sloppy
that,
seconds.
too. But that's what I have it written down as.
So it says, "Bitch, get your ass home, clean up." So she walks home, and then we just hear. It's like it's a swerve. They're faking us out because you're thinking, "Oh my God, Ginty's on the attack.
Yeah.
He's going to molest this woman."
Anybody who's listened to any of our Ginty episodes know that is the sound of terror.
Yes. If you look anything like his sister, you better look the fuck out.
Yeah.
So she's like, and she's hearing the jiggle, the jowl. She's just like, oh, you hear that noise, and you just.
I like that the jiggle of the jowls matched the jiggle of her trying to open her door and dropping her keys.
Oh, there's this guy, Frank Drew
White.
He's an auteur. He's got some shots in this movie that you're like, wow, he really thought about that shot. We'll get into that too.
Right.
But yeah, so he's syncing the jowls with the jiggle. Jiggle with the jingle. And so she's flustered because when did you ever hear that sound?
Right. I imagine this is how Phil is with the Old Bay seasoning. It's like you just get so excited to get that fucking paprika out. Wait, what is Old Bay seasoning even? Is it pepper and salt and paprika?
Let me go to my cabinet and get the can. I can read all the ingredients. It's like a giant, like trash can size can.
Yeah, of course it is. I imagine you have the trash can, the recycle bin, and then the Old Bay
dispenser.
Yeah, with like a garden shovel, so you can just plow that onto your pancakes.
Yeah, it's delicious.
It really is. You know, I've had that.
Yeah.
So. Fuck you, Hitchcock. Frank Drew White is building the tension. She's constantly dropping her keys and picking them up and dropping them and picking them up.
And running behind buildings and everything.
Yeah, she drops the keys, hides. So I think the coast is clear, and then comes back. And this is where we're thinking Ginty's just going to lunge on her. But no, it's your favorite character in the movie, Griff, Sam.
Oh, yeah, Sam. He's got a kind face to him.
Kind.
Look, when you're
comparing, like George Animal Steel is what
when you compare it to Robert Ginty's face, Sam's got a kind face.
And he grabs her, and she drops her purse, and he carries her away. And this now we see. I think Phil pointed out, and I think he's right. We get the scenes that were shot in 1981 because there's a certain kind of graininess to them. And we see the sex cult, which apparently we're all under the impression these guys are Satanists. No, they're not. They're anti-Satanists.
Yeah, and I think right before the dungeon, they cut to Chuck Connors. I think Chuck Connors is his first appearance is right after Sam drags her away. They show Chuck Connors like walking down that staircase, and then they focus on it's the first appearance of that big bowl, like that fish bowl of sangria.
It was sangria. I thought it was pea soup. It's sangria.
No, if you look at it, there's like a pineapple in it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But that's all they show, so it's easy to miss that scene. But they were trying to this whole movie. They're trying to use these cuts to divert you or think somebody is related to somebody else. It's really quite skillful filmmaking, in my opinion.
It fooled me. There's a scene coming up that tricked me.
There is a half of this movie where it feels like they do a good job of, misdirecting. And then there's the other half of the movie. It feels like, no, we're going to Tony Khan book this thing and just randomly shift these parts all over the place so you have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, so right now we're like, who is the Maniac killer? Is it Sam? Is it Chuck Connors?
Well, we read the credits. We know who it is.
I was just watching it and going, poor Chuck Connors. Did he have some bills to pay? Why is he in? Did he want a free trip to Paris?
Question: does Chuck Connor always look like he probably is up to some shady shit?
No, he's the rifleman. He was a hero. Well, he's not. He played for the Celtics, so he's a piece of shit. But
motherfucker played for the Celtics
back in the 50s or 60s. He played
Incredible.
for the Celtics. And then he became an actor, the Rifleman. First of all, if you want to see actually a good horror movie, Chuck Connor, see Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
It's way better than this shitty movie.
Great.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like Phil said, they're swerving us. They're playing with our minds. We're like, who do we trust? Who do we believe? Because he's looking pretty. He's got that bubbling sangria. I don't trust that.
Yeah, anybody who boils their sangria. I mean, I don't know how to make sangria, but I don't believe it includes boiling.
I don't think so. Maybe he's trying. He's a scientist. Maybe he's trying to pasteurize it.
Oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about now, and that made no sense. Who is doing their science with heavy citrus?
There's definitely pineapples.
He's way ahead of his time.
Maybe.
All right, so he's right, and then we go back to now we're in a dungeon, a sex dungeon,
Okay.
and we see it. I just called him Lemmy Clausmeister because he looks like Santa Claus meets Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yeah, I like it.
He's got the mutton chops, the mustache, red hood.
You know who would have really liked to seen in this role? Shit, I can't remember his name from
great,
Get
yeah.
Evan.
Yeah, I agree.
On the heart? On the heart?
Not John
That
DeHart.
would be
It's
great.
actually our little image here. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
image.
William Smith.
Normad.
Normad. Was it Normad Murray? That sounds right.
Yeah, it's Norman.
Yeah, Normad. I expected Normad because he ran a sex cult thing.
But that's the thing. He was a Satanist. These guys aren't Satanists.
That is the craziest part. When I was talking to Murray, when I was 75% through this movie, I was like, man, these Satanists are fucked. He's like, Griff, pay your fucking attention. They are not Satanists. They're trying to heal the world, not shave the world.
Right, like that's the thing. Who's the maniac killer? Like these guys are the good guys.
They are.
I-
Ginty's the good guy. Yeah. Oh, I almost gave it away. Oops.
Oh, now no one's gonna watch this movie.
No.
Yep.
By the way, the greatest thing about this movie was 83 minutes. That was the greatest
Yeah,
thing
it was.
about it. But so Lemmy Clausmeister, he's got this awesome scepter with a snake curling around it. And you know the director was proud of it because it's prominent in a lot of scenes. He just zoom in on it. And he's like, did I read this wrong? He sits down on a throne. And then there's a sword
Yes.
and a scabbard, and he turns it, and metal music starts playing.
Yes, that's Hysteria. Yeah,
That's
that's one of the Hysterias back in '87 that were like full suits of armor, and you just turned the sword, and then the hood would open and the heavy metal would come out. Hence, that's why it's called heavy metal, because it was from a suit of armor.
Oh,
Wow.
god damn, that is so literal. I didn't think heavy metal, was so literal.
Yeah, we didn't have a term for that music until this movie came out.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I imagine the fingers are always lifting up and kind of fiddling around like at concerts when they really like the fucking solo that they don't have no idea what's going on.
So that gets Sam in the mood for a little purple nurple on Rose. Is that the prostitute's name?
Rosalie. I think it's Rosalie, but we can call her Rose.
Yeah,
Rosalie.
it was like Rosalie, but for the sake of fucking notes, let's shorten that name. We
So
don't
he's
need
doing some titty twister action on her, and like Lemmy's like, no, get the clamps,
Yeah.
and he's just squeezing her nipples with the clamps.
Yeah, it wasn't even okay. Of course, Sam's gonna have a hard time with Sam. For as fat as fingers as Sam has, very nimble with them. He got the nipple and no areola whatsoever. I was very impressed by that work. But yeah, I thought he was doing a good job, but he was just holding it there because of course it's uncomfortable. You're just squeezing some stranger's tits. So he goes and gets the clamps.
Cut to the local tavern.
Okay, this cut to was. I'm already like, what the fuck is this movie? And now we're with some strange characters.
Well, wait, before that, like I said, I was pointing out, this guy's an auteur. We get a great scene where we see like a stuffed ferret. And it pulls away, and it's like, oh my god, he's showing the ferret in reflection in a mirror, and then he pans to the right, and then we see the ferret.
You noticed that?
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
You
hey,
picked up on that.
You picked up on that.
And then Mr. McFeely, the nosy mailman, showed up. I want to know this guy's fucking story. How did this guy wind up in rural France? This guy from like Bruno Kirby looking motherfucker.
From Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like, his name is Bernard. Bernard, the neighborhood busybody mailman, I think he's I think he's right up there with Ginty in terms of sleaziness.
Oh, 100%.
I hate this guy.
Yeah.
I hate this guy.
Like,
He's terrible.
I did not like this guy right off the bat. He's sitting down. He's like, guys, let me tell you, lizard people. He's full on conspiracy theory right off the bat, and he's still got the friends. So we're seeing the conspiracy theorist in the earliest stage when he's just starting to get interested in all the bullshit, and his mind's warping, and he's huffing the lead paint or something. And he's sitting down. He's having some drinks. He's like, look, I saw some shit. What was the shit he saw in this scenario?
Well, he's just like, hey, you hear this? You hear about all those women going missing?
Yeah. And now was this where he's like, there's this new professor in town?
Yeah, he lives by the cemetery. Professor Roger Osborne, man. He's from California. Now he's here because he had to leave California because he was doing tests on women. I mean, it makes sense. If women are going missing, you would think the guy who had to leave California.
Yeah. And you have the one friend who eggs him on. Yeah. And some of those women in California died.
Yep.
So you got it right there. He might have just been humoring him, but of course Bernard is hearing exactly what he needs to hear. You're going along with me. You're going on this journey to this real world that's happening underneath the world.
And he's like, get this. The guy's so secretive. His like maid lady won't let me in the house. But first of all, no shit. Who delivers fucking mail in the house?
Yeah. Well,
but then one time, I had to deliver some big crates. You see, and then I went down there. There was fucking blood everywhere, and computers.
There's all these computers and screens and like it's just this guy is. What is he doing? Delivering the mail to your kitchen table? Like yes. Is that what he does? She doesn't let him inside to deliver the mail. This guy's such a piece of shit.
Right.
He's opening everybody's mail. He's just checking out everything. And so he said, yeah, he's like, I saw computers and there was blood on an operating table. Oh. And then we just cut away from the barflies to Griff's favorite character in the movie, young Matthew.
Oh,
wait,
boy.
Hold on. Can we at least say one more thing about the bar?
Sure.
Real quick. I just want to rewind just a little bit. First of all, the music playing is like video game music. It's like boss level music and a piccolo playing and a piccolo accompanying. And if you actually watch the movie again, which you will
no, we won't.
The music that's playing in that bar is the same music that's playing in the Paradise in the opening scene when they open the door. It's like it's the same music.
It was a hot song in 1987.
It was number one in Europe.
Yeah.
But what about the guy with the red turtleneck? He says the following, and I watched this movie. So he was asking Bernard, the male guy, was telling his story about the creepy, like Dr. Osborne. And then the guy with the red turtleneck, he's like obviously doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
He says the following, and how some died, they said.
Yes.
What is that? I actually turned on the subtitles to get it transcribed.
All I know is
they said, and then they're like, yeah, totally. Like
I do like that everybody at the table is like, well, shit, that's some real shit.
Well, you also got to remember, he knows nothing about prostitutes. He's been married for years. They also point that out. Like, right. You probably haven't been laid because you've been married forever.
That's right.
He's been faithful for 20 years to his wife. That's why the cult doesn't go after that.
This whole group of friends makes no sense.
Right.
It's like you got Brooklyn Bernard, like a woman, this weird guy with a turtleneck, and then some balding like guy with a perm. What was?
It was a
like
lot.
Charles Fleischer, like he looks like Roger Rabbit's. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but he looks exactly like. If you look up Charles Fleischer, it's Bernard's friend Max, and Max comes back. So we gotta. Max is important.
So proud of you guys for finding these names. I was just redhead, bald guy. Like I didn't know fucking any names in this
Yeah.
I'm
movie.
not proud of this at all.
You shouldn't be. You should be ashamed of yourself.
It's
for
so
picking this
hard
movie.
on the first watch to be like, do I need to know this guy's name? Do I need to know anything about him? Should I pay any close attention? And Bernard, this whole scene was one of these where it's like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? Like,
We're trying to put the suspicion on Dr. Osborne.
I
We think he's the villain at
right,
this time.
and that
Yeah.
makes sense. And clearly, Bernard has read Bukowski's like mailman, poetry and everything, and he's like, "This Doreen lady should be taking me in, fucking me, giving me a sandwich, and I should be backhanding her and fucking out of there."
Give me some of that sangria there, bitch.
Yeah, give me some of that sangria. What did I come all the way out here for?
There was this pineapple in it.
Do you even know about the Yanks? The on top of the world in '81 or '87.
Yeah.
He thought ahead.
All right. Now we finally meet Griff's favorite character, Matthew.
Okay. You watched this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh my God, Griff! When you see this character, Matthew,
It's just Matthew. It's not Matteo.
but it's spelled with an IEU.
IEU. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They pronounce it Matthew. That's all I know.
did they?
Yeah.
I thought they did try to give it a little bit of the extra or European.
No.
Oh, okay. Mateo, I thought is what they were saying.
It's Matthew.
But he doesn't really speak any language, so
Well, he
He
speaks
speaks,
Matt.
he speaks halfway.
he has a half-wit accent.
Yeah, he's got a half-wit accent. So this
Yeah,
is,
I got a feeling this actor's first language wasn't English either. He's probably the son of the guy from the
I have a
bar.
feeling this was his first and only role, because as they teach us in the
He's looking, he's got some Steve Buscemi vibes coming way off him.
yeah.
He's got that fucked up, parted down the middle
Oh no,
hair.
yeah, I see what you mean about the Steve Buscemi hair. He's got horrible '90s hair in the '80s. He's constantly flipping it. The camera guy,
He's wearing like a members only jacket, but it's all like
tattered.
haggard looking, tattered. Yeah.
yeah. He does look like a suave guy from like the mid '90s or something in an Old Navy commercial, but everything is tattered.
Yeah.
Then he's got that flippy hair. He looks like a guy you would find at a pavement show for sure, and he's flipping his hair all over his place. He's already rough enough to deal with, but then the director has decided to get these very long shots of him like lifting his chin up to the lens and going. It's so rough to watch because, as Tropic Thunder taught us, you never go full half-wit.
Halfwit, yeah. And he's in the process of catching a cat and throwing it in a bag. Maybe this is a callback to the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be.
So, of course, the famous Dr. Seuss book, Cat in a Sack. So he throws the cat in the sack.
Yes, of course, Cat in the Sack.
And then
Which, of course, we've banned all Dr. Seuss books in America.
Yeah.
Because no child should be reading those.
Oh, it's harmful.
I mean, Dr. Seuss is right in there with George Soros. He's a
Dr.
globalist.
Seuss.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss.
That's the orangutan from Planet of the Apes, isn't it?
It's also Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
Same name, same guy.
So now we're cut back. We're in the police station. We're meeting Manfred, the pimp from the beginning of the movie. One of his ladies is missing.
He even he had the better mullet, okay? So we've got dueling mullets in this movie. He had like the curly kind of mullet. It worked out a lot better for him.
He had the Seinfeld mullet.
He had the Seinfeld mullet. And you know what? It just worked better.
And he's like, look, one of my hoes is missing. And they're like, well, first we got to fill out some paperwork. What's your job? Salesman.
Entrepreneur.
No, he says salesman. He's like, and then the cop has this great one-liner. He's like, more like a renter or a leaser.
Ooh, yeah.
Because he knows what's up. This guy sells women.
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe she ran away because you were seen slapping the shit out of her before she went away. And they're like, and he's like, and he had like a yellow, what was he? He's like a yellow jacket.
Yellow pants.
Yellow
Yeah,
pants.
Bright yellow pants. They were nice. They were they were awesome. Rosalie really did a good job ironing those pants. You can't clean the house, but she's good at ironing those yellow pants, I'll tell you. But that character, just to be clear, because it's an important character, Police Sergeant Morton. Yes, just wanted to make sure.
Why is every sheriff called Mort? Because the Murder, She Wrote episode we did had a sheriff named Mort, too.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. Maybe that's your name's Mort. That's your calling to be a sheriff. It's really, yeah, and he's just like, don't leave town, pimp. We're on to you.
Right.
Yeah, the cops just don't care. They don't care about Rosalie. Right. She's a whore. They don't like her.
Worthless.
Yeah, they need Satan the
anti-Satan.
Get all that. They get the Satan out of her. They're on the side of Ginty. I'm sorry, excuse me. The mystery red hooded person.
Yeah, the mystery red hood. I mean, they're going right along with our whole theory across 200 plus episodes now that cops, their hands are tied. Yeah. Because they're just like, oh, wow, someone in our small, quaint little town is being harmed. Well, shit, that's just too bad. I mean, there's only 100 people here, but we just can't help her. There's so much to do. And they're literally just eating hot Italian beef sandwiches. They got them shipped over.
The prostitute's making the property values go down, so they want her gone to begin with.
Oh, yeah. There goes the neighborhood. The prostitutes are moving in.
Right. So now we're going to meet another couple. We're not sure.
Jesus Christ. This movie we're like at maybe the 20-minute mark, and we've met 4 different groups that we have no idea about.
Yeah, we don't know if they're good, they're bad, whatever. Yeah. We see that we're in Paris because we get a shot of the Arc de Triomphe. And we see I just called it Red and Baldy was in my notes.
Yes.
Well, what was their names, guys?
It's Harvey and Licia. Licia and Harvey. Harvey is the bald guy. Yeah, Harvey's the dirt ball guy.
And they're just driving in one of those shitty little European cars.
Yeah, it was like a little Jeep. They had a nice little Jeep there.
And they're talking about the kidnapping. I was led to believe they were like from a newspaper or something.
Yeah, so that's what they. This makes no sense. This movie, because I still don't know who they actually are. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, when they go in to see Dr. Osborne, Chuck Connors, that's when they're interviewing him like they're from a newspaper, but then Chuck catches them.
Right. They're coming into town and they're like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this real soon. So you just think they're investigative journalists, and
like some Scooby-Doo mystery machine shit.
Yeah, it would make sense in this situation because you got outsiders coming into this little town, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with all these fucking counts and countesses and missing prostitutes and.
Right, and so we get another nice auteur shot. This guy loves reflections, Frank Drew White. Because we get a nice shot of the reflection of Chuck Connors' face.
Just got to stop you there. It's Frank Drew White. All right? Just give the guy a little respect.
And they start asking him about his experiments. Because we learned from Bernard that he experimented on women in California.
Right.
You know why? Because Roe versus Wade got overturned. He was an abortionist, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Chuck, like you said, he's like testing them. He's like, maybe you need to check the morgue. And they're like, what? Oh, of course, I mean the morgue where dead stories go from newspapers.
Yeah, when you have to explain your joke, you know it was really good.
Yeah.
You see, I was watching some George Carlin videos earlier, and he would tell a joke, and then he would spend 10 minutes explaining it to the audience, and they would just be like clapping and laughing the whole time he explained it. And Osborne just gave us a good joke. He's explaining it. They're laughing. They're clapping. This is good shit.
It is good.
So, Alicia and Harvey, they're chastised. They scurry out, even though they Osborne, he's got their number. He knows what's up.
Right. He's peering over them. He's like, I came all the way over here to do my experiments and quiet, and now I got the fucking, tabloid journalists. I got TMZ over here.
I got fucking Mulder and Scully here.
Yeah, Mulder and Scully over here. But don't worry, Murray, I got some fanfare for us. Because we just cut to that night, and we got fucking fireworks going off in front of this mansion. What the fuck is this cut?
It proves my point that only half-wits and children like fireworks.
I agree with this.
Matt is loving it.
Yes.
I fucking hate fireworks.
So we got our baby boy Matt, our half-wit, just staring through some bushes. It's rough. And we're actually gonna head inside. We just know that Matt's there creeping on this town.
Right. And I guess the Count Silvano, played by Bo Svensson, is having a party for some reason.
Well, when you're fucking that rich, you just have parties every once in a while.
Right, and not only just parties, classy parties. Count Silvano is so classy, he wears red shoes with his tuxedo.
Like the Pope.
Like the Pope.
Yeah,
right.
the Pope does that.
And he's got his manservants dressed like George Washington. His manservants, and I shit you not, Stephen and James.
We hear ya.
Steve James.
Nice job there, Frank. Drew White.
So he's like, greeting everybody. He's the host. He's got to do that.
Right.
And then he just looks out the corner of his eye, and we just feel this.
Everybody puked. I mean, even Phil probably puked when we get this reveal.
This is Bonerville right here. When I saw this scene, I was so excited.
Oh, take us through it.
This is when I knew. This is the moment I knew we would be talking about this right now. Was there across the dance floor magically whisking away the count?
Is the same song playing that was playing at like the bar?
Yeah, they're totally jamming like his live but it's more orchestral. Like it's in the orchestral version. It's more sweeping. Everybody's dancing, having a good time. The crowd parts, and magically, who appears? Holding the Countess lovingly in his arms. Your man, my man, everybody's man, Robert Ginty.
Yeah, he looked like a rodent or something. He was very disturbing.
And he looks at the camera like he was looking into your soul. Like this moment was made for you. Because he knew one day you'd watch this movie and he could see right through. But he actually looks up from this dance and stares right through you.
Phil, can I be honest with you? I actually was possessed by Robert Ginty. His spirit is in my body now from that scene. Yeah. Thank you. I'm now possessed by Ginty.
It's a beautiful scene. And you think they're like together, but she's like, did she get a roofie or something? Because she's like laying on top of him. Like it's almost like she's hypnotized by Ginty's awesomeness.
Oh yeah, she's totally not into him at all. Like I don't know. This scene made no sense.
Why are they dancing? And Lesia and Harvey why are they there? Because the Count. The Count actually greets them when they come in. They're dancing too. They're dancing with each other, which looks really strange. Harvey is not. Harvey's a weird-looking guy.
Are they crashing the party? They just came in.
The Count talks to them. The Count actually greets them. Like does he know them?
Okay, so what I'm hearing here is Golan-Globus Theater needs to put their production staff to work because there is a lot of questions around this movie. I just can't watch it a second time because of Robert Ginty. So we're going to edit a bag over his head for the whole movie. And we're going to do like the voice modifier. So when he talks, it's this or something.
That's how he sounds when he talks.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was more like this.
He's just a mush mouth. How did this guy have Phil
pointed
it out.
He
paid for his own movies.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a great Ginty impression. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he was the original Peanuts actor. He did all the adults and teachers.
And so I think Phil's right. I think she's been roofied, and he's taking her down cellar to rape her or something.
I mean, we've done multiple Ginty features so far, and we know that his face has like some kind of weird hypnotizing effect where people are just like, please don't harm me. I'll go along with whatever you want. Just don't fucking cut my face up or something, you know? I saw Last House on the Park on the Left or whatever it's called.
House on the Edge of the Park.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen to me. So I'll just go along with it. We'll forget about this. You have the most forgettable face of all time. You're grotesque. You're insufferable.
Let's get it over with.
Let's get it over with. Have your kicks. I'm going to go.
So he takes her down to this, like, downstairs. And he's like, but come away with me. And she's like, no. And he's like, you're my love. And as she's saying that, Count Silvano with his red shoes is up at the top of the stairs, and he's like, "Hey, get away from my wife, the Countess." And he's like, "She's in love with me." He's like Quasimodo looking and shit.
Yeah. This is where we get to see somebody prove that Ginty is the just weakest human being ever, because he lightly shoves him and he does like a 45-foot pratfall type situation
Into a chair.
And he's told, "Yeah, you're not welcome here. I'm gonna get Steven, James, come hither." And they come down and he's like, "Get this fucking asshole out of here.
Time to take out the trash.
Make him walk."
And
Didn't that wasn't that so satisfying to you to watch Ginty just get dominated by Bo Svensson? Like, Bo Svensson's like a big guy.
Yeah.
He's big, and he just like lorded over him and just made him feel like a total piece of shit. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you're dead on. That was good to see somebody handle Ginty in a dominating way. But then I start to question my own self. It's like, do I want to see Robert Ginty get handled by somebody bigger than him? So I couldn't go down that black hole. Again, this is why I watched the movie once. I'm a little scared talking about it even, because I'm like...
Well, it's a horror movie. You should be scared.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so I did not like Bo Svensson in a tuxedo or a suit, whatever he's wearing here. I loved him in his 80s sportswear later in the movie.
Yes.
That was good.
That
shit.
jacket is amazing.
Yes.
It's like a Coleman tent. It's like you could actually has like the rain guard in the sleeve.
It did.
It looks exactly like a Coleman tent. Like it, and also all you have to do is unfold it. It becomes a tent.
I loved it.
Beautiful.
It was so good. So we get this nice shot of Gondrod.
Gonorrhea, whatever the fuck Ginty's called.
Gondrod.
Ginty does the move like, "Get off of me. I'll walk myself out."
And what's that?
His name is Gondrand.
Gondrand.
Nobody knows what Gondrand. Do you guys know what Gondrand? Like, what?
No.
I actually looked it up.
Yeah.
Of course you would. You're a Gintologist.
Yeah.
Gondrand is a logistics company. I know this is boring. We're killing, but it's a logistics company. But apparently, in Ethiopia in 1936, there was like Italians that worked for the Gondrand Corporation were attacked by the natives, and that the fascists used that massacre to invade Ethiopia. So like the Mussolinis. Yeah, and so Gondrand is like something. Gondrand means something.
Gondrand is, in a way, like Mussolini. So he scurries out, and we see he's
dodging the fireworks.
Yeah, and he's like really disturbing. He's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't.
He gets hit in the eye with the firecracker.
Yeah.
Like there's sparks and it sounds like lasers, like the noise it's making, and the whole everybody's outside watching him leave, and they're like looking at him like, "Get the fuck out of our party, you piece of..." It's like those parties that you used to go to, like you weren't invited, and then they kicked you out. Like everybody's on the porch, like just throwing fireworks at Ginty. It's awesome.
Yeah,
even Matt is throwing shit at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, halfwit over here.
That's what he sounded like. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're using scientific terms. Halfwit over.
Now, okay, and now the next scene, this is where like we're getting another swerve, because we see Count Silvano looking very like suspicious.
Right. We're assuming the party has concluded.
Right.
He has gone upstairs because he just had to pry Gondrad off his wife. So he had some very frustrating sex with her that night, and he's like, "I gotta go for a walk. I gotta go down to my secret chamber.
I gotta go to my man cave."
Right, where he keeps Harry Potter.
So he goes to the door and he looks left, he looks right, puts the key in, opens. So we're all like, okay, he's the guy in charge of the anti-Satanist sex cult.
Right. Yeah.
Because the next scene, We see Lemmy Klausmeister again.
Like, we don't follow him into the door.
No, not at all.
We just hear him click open, turn the knob, and then suddenly we're back in the sex cauldron. I mean, the sex dungeon.
And Lemmy, he's reading from a gigantic book called The Ancestral Book of Perennial Truth.
Mm.
And this is where we learn that they're torturing. Griff wrote torturing for Satan. I'm like, no, they're torturing Satan out of people.
I mean, that's just doing God's work.
Right.
Joshua
well, hey, man, the Inquisition did the exact same thing. So.
Joshua Westman would be so proud of them.
Hey, man, if this movie should have taken place in Spain because they're like the Inquisition. They're torturing Satan out of people.
Okay.
And he like lays out all the truth about. He lays out all the perennial truth.
The perennial incestual truth.
Yeah, that's Gondrin does the incestual.
Oh,
he does say that. He says, anyway, like I wrote in my notes, I actually wrote it down what he says. He's reading from the ancestral book of the almighty and noble clan, whoever you shall be from now until Tuesday. What the fuck does that mean?
No, until Tuesday.
Till Tuesday.
And then I'm
voices
like,
scary. Voices
yes,
were
I was
scary.
like, Amy Man ripped them off.
Right.
That's where Till Tuesday came from. Is from Maniac Killer.
Yeah.
Shit.
This movie's influential as shit.
And like I said, the Frank White was very proud of this snake scepter because he just always right in the forefront.
Yeah. I mean, he bejeweled the snake. He painted it gold. He put it on a scepter. I got to give him credit. I like this prop.
The eyes light up.
Yeah,
the actual jewels in the snake's eye. It's pretty cool. I kind of want to find that.
I bet it's been on Antiques Roadshow.
Definitely.
And then El Duce from the Mentors just pops up, another great cameo. He's like, and he just starts. He rips this woman's shirt open, and I gotta admit, she had great breasts. And then he ruins them by like putting a hot poker on them.
Yeah, this is rough.
But who is this woman?
Who cares? She's another street trash.
Let's be clear, it's not Rosalie.
No, this is a woman who has a great pair of breasts. That's what she was there for.
Much more attractive than Rosalie.
All right.
You're right. I agree.
So we're going from some wonderful breasts. Apparently, we all agree they were great breasts.
Sure.
It was sad to see them be tortured. That's the horror of this movie, is seeing great breasts be tortured.
Yeah.
And now we're going to check in on Matt, who is catching a rabbit.
Was this rabbit like a roofie? Because he like lunges on this fucking rabbit, and it does nothing. It's just like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever, I've accepted my life.
This rabbit is the size of a Great Dane. It's like Night of the Lepus. This rabbit is gigantic. It's so big. I've never seen a rabbit that big.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big it was until I noticed that Matt is carrying like a sack big enough to keep a human in. He puts the rabbit in it, and you could see the rabbit pushing on all parts of the sack. So, yeah, this fucking thing was enormous.
And just so happens while he's doing that, Countess Silvano is riding by on her horse. And she's like, you fucking poacher, get the fuck off my land. That's my rabbit.
Right. Starts fucking whipping him with her riding crop, and she's like, don't you know where you fucking homeless poor people belong? What's up, Phil?
Why is Countess Silvano wearing a wig when she's riding? Like, did you know that was, like, the first time I watched this movie, then they had this woman riding on a horse. I had no idea who it was because she's wearing a wig.
Well, that will be important later on.
But why is
because everybody knows the Countess rides with a wig. And that comes into play later on.
To be kidnapped? Like, she was like... It's like part of her riding uniform was a wig on her head.
Maybe because maybe the Count wanted her to wear a helmet. She's like, I'm not fucking my hair up. So they compromised by putting a wig on a helmet.
I want to go ahead and point out, we're talking about inspirations. Amy Mann was inspired by this movie. Flight of the Conchords did a bit about Brett making a helmet with his hair on it. So clearly they were giving tribute to this movie as well.
Who knew how
so
influential
who the
this
fuck
movie
knew
is?
this goddamn movie? And who knows what they saw, Maniac Killer or Maniac Killer? But they saw it and they were inspired.
She's mean. She beats the shit out of Matthew, and she calls him a moron. So she doesn't. She is not very politically sensitive. I don't feel anything for her but scorn.
100% agree with that right there. She's like,
She's 1%ing him.
If we were in the battleground of Twitter, I'd fucking tear this woman apart. I'd be throwing her to the wolves. I'd be watching it and enjoying it. Ceaseless feast of Schadenfreude for Griff. But yeah, no, she's enjoying it, and this also plays into my whole thing where clearly Count Silvanair. Slappy, what's his name?
Silvano.
Clearly,
Captain Lou Silvano.
Captain Lou Silvano. Jesus Christ, that's amazing. Captain Lou Silvano.
Hanging off his face.
That would be so great. Like Bo Svensson with some rubber bands on his face.
Clearly.
He's got a Coleman pen, his rubber bands.
Clearly,
and why is he a Silvano? Like, he's like the most white person on earth. Like, he's so Nordic,
and he's in France on top of that. Like, why does he have an Italian name?
This is his vacation home.
Okay,
he just comes into this little town, for the summer months and everything, because the jams. The jams and the figs are so good. You got to come down to France.
The jams and the figs.
But clearly, this is showing off to me that she's into that rough shit. She's into the whipping. She's into the. So I'm like, this plays into the sex dungeon. So clearly, it's the Count and the Countess who are capturing prostitutes, and the two of them are having their fun together. And of course, Lemmy Kilmeister.
Yes. Lemmy Clausmeister, because he looks like Santa Claus meets Lemmy.
Excuse me.
So, he scurries off to the only guy who shows any pity for poor Matthew, Professor Osborne. And he also, by the way, is collecting these animals, because we'll learn later, Professor Osborne has a great plan to cure death.
Yeah.
We'll learn about that later.
Oh, yeah.
So he's welcome with open arms.
Right. Matthew, welcome back. Oh, it's so good to see you here. We got to get you some new clothes. You look like an idiot. What did you bring me today? And he seems concerned about the animals, but Osborne assures him, well, I could be killing humans right now. And Matthew not.
Women, didn't you say that? That's what Bernard said, the postman.
Yeah.
Women.
Okay. Women.
Women.
And we know women are people, so excuse me, everybody. The half-wit somehow speaks for the audience.
So he's like, he pats Matthew on the head. Did a great job, Matthew. How about you play with my 6 PCs here?
Yeah, he just leaves Matthew. He says, would you like a cup of coffee, Matthew? And he's like, oh. And then he sits at the computer, and guys, I'm just going to pipe in some of this because it's probably
Be careful.
It's probably the greatest cinema of all time. I mean, I can't think of anything that's more impactful than, well, shit. Again, I talked about it before. This clearly inspired Tropic Thunder.
A. You try it. A. All right, now. B. 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 Good. Now watch. C. C. All right now. Bad man. Bad man. And man.
So that isn't complicated at all. That's just clean, good storytelling.
Yeah, and Osborne, I love dialogue, scientific dialogue that's written by stupid people because the dialogue poor Chuck Connors had to read.
Let me just say, we've read a lot of comics full of bad science.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we go.
Matthew, I need these animals so I can scientifically analyze their blood with computers to cure death. So don't worry. Yes, I am cutting these animals up alive. I'm vivisecting them. But like Griff said, they could have been women. So I've learned my lesson. But we're going to cure death, Matthew, by analyzing the blood with these 20 computers stacked on top of each other.
Oh my God.
And we've learned that we already know Matthew is a halfwit, not a dimwit, a halfwit.
A halfwit. Excuse us for saying dimwit.
Right.
Halfwit is the scientific term.
Right.
And then we also meet Doreen.
Yes,
the housekeeper, that it becomes very important that Bernard, the dirtball mailman, had mentioned. We meet her, and then she's there listening. What is her role? Like, is she Matthew's mother or something? Like,
her role is, first of all, to keep Bernard out of the house. She's got his number right off the bat. She's like, don't trust this guy. No, she's very protective of Professor Osborn. And she's also very nosy because she's always eavesdropping on conversations. But yeah, she's like the Mrs. Garrett of the Osborn Manor or whatever.
Right.
What was up with like Osborn's place? You know, there's like sunflowers in the windows.
Yes, stained glass sunflowers.
Very tacky.
It was very
not as classy as Gonorrhea's living room later on.
Well, God, I can't wait till we get to Conrad's living room.
So Matthew, just like every kid, he just wants to play with his Nintendo. He's like, give me the fucking,
Yeah, this kid sits down at a computer and he has more confidence, sorry, Tim, than Tim Murray at the computer. He sits there, he's firing, he's owning the libs on Twitter. I was like, what the fuck? He's animating stuff? I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I haven't seen that since Young Warriors. A gifted animator who's also troubled, like little Matthew is. This was incredible. And he does all this. He writes himself a program to sound out letters and slowly thrust the letters into the screen. So they go from a tiny print to a large print that covers the whole screen.
It's like,
that one, but we know
zero.
I mean, that is a chant, though. Like, we know that the Viking berserkers used to do that.
Yeah, and the Minnesota Vikings fans.
And while this is happening, poor Chuck Connors has to somehow make sense of this mess we're watching. And he's talking to Doreen in the background.
Right.
And he's like, I don't even know, how do they explain it? It's like he can't, Matthew cannot speak to people, but he can speak to computers.
I love this because you said it, you already said it. Dumb people trying to explain science. This is what I miss in all movies today. I miss this logic leap of, we didn't even try to read this. We're just assuming this is true. And we are going to have our authoritative scientists tell us about it. And so he's sitting Doreen down. He's grabbing her by the face. Osborn cannot deliver a scientific point without grabbing somebody by the face. If you notice that, like a thespian with that skull, on stage where they talk into it, he has to grab somebody by the face and tell them about science. And so he's explaining, you see, he's free of the pressures of talking to another human being. When he talks to the machine, he's simpatico with it. He is one. He is Neo.
Yeah, okay. The machines have isolated dictums, which is exactly what he said. And he understands the isolated dictums. That's important. That's important to the whole plot of the movie. Now, infants can do, they can actually make words make sense. He only understands humans through gestures because he feels inferior, but the computer he feels comfortable with because of the isolated dictums. And I think I just want everybody to know that because that comes into play later.
Interesting.
Or not.
I couldn't see. I'm just impressed that you were able to. Maybe it was the closed captioning. You were able to follow the scientist Osborn's logic because I was having a hard time. I was just imagining he was grabbing my face, explaining the things I want to know about.
He says that if he can just teach him to place his tongue in the right way, Matthew could be cured.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, he says that.
I also hated that he was. I felt he was dressed more like a dentist than a doctor.
A dentist is a doctor, girl.
I mean, no, I'm not trying to say they're not doctors.
Yeah.
It's just like he's supposed to be the super high, sophisticated scientist who's going to figure
Analyzing blood with computers.
I mean, in 81 or 87,
Curing death.
not a lot of people were like doctors on their own were analyzing blood with computers. He's writing his own programs. I mean, come on.
Right.
This is a pioneer of software.
He's doing that like on an Amiga.
Okay. There's a whole culture of people who say rape my setup, and if they're talking about like computer systems and desks and everything, this motherfucker has towers stacked on towers, stacked on towers, stacked on towers. One monitor, 6 keyboards laid out. Amazing. I'm sorry, it was amazing. You want me to get you some pictures of that for
Sure.
for the Twitter? Because that was easily my favorite. I'll get you a little video of Matthew reading through.
And Matthew does a little foreshadowing by going, bad man.
Oh no, he teaches him that.
He teaches. So Chuck Connors, that's coming up. I don't want to get it. Like that's the next scene. That's
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
You're just getting excited. I know you are because I'm getting excited too.
I love this scene.
The computer
You're
is
right.
so awesome. That part of the computer, no one was doing anything like that at the time. They were ahead of their time.
Well, yeah, he's a genius. So he's learning his ABCs, his 1, 2, 3s, and he's learning what a bad man is.
Yes.
And then Osborn leaves Matthew to study, and we get a zoom in on Chuck Connor's face, a very serious look.
He looked very worried about something.
right.
What was he
And
worried about, though?
I don't-
It looked
well,
like he had to
I
take a
think-
shit.
I think they're trying to make us think that he's because we don't know who is in charge of this sex cult, anti-Satanist sex cult.
yes.
So they're throwing some shade onto Osborn because we think is it gonorrhea? Is it Count Silvano, Captain Lou Silvano,
is it Bernard
Or
and
is
his
it-
bar buddies?
or is it Bernard? We don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's
the red guy.
yeah, right. I guess that's why they threw so many characters into this without really telling us what any of them were, where any of them were, because it's like any of these people could be leading a sex cult.
It's a total mystery. But speaking of somebody who could be leading a sex cult, Licia and Harvey show up at the Eiffel Tower. I guess they're sightseeing while they're there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this scene is about to imply, and I'm going to go ahead and just push us forward here, because they arrive at the Eiffel Tower. They don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then Licia walks towards the camera, and suddenly we're in the sex dungeon. So, let's go ahead and think about what just happened here. We're supposed to be in some quaint little town far from the world, but she went to the Eiffel Tower, got out of the car, walked...
When you go to Paris, you got to go to the Eiffel Tower.
Right,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense. But then she walks 10 feet, and suddenly she is in the sex dungeon. That is, Frank DeWright, that's bad directing. You have just implied that, no, we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of fucking Paris, France. That was the implication. That's what I saw.
Okay. But not only is she in the sex dungeon, she's got her own little hooded cowl type thing going on. Kate.
She's involved? This beautiful redheaded woman? She there's no way she's an anti-Satanist.
Yes, Griff, she is.
Oh my god.
And I think this at some point in the movie, Lemmy Klausmeister just disappears.
He does.
He's in the scene, right? He hands her the scepter, the
Well,
snake
he
scepter.
becomes Ginty. Or, I'm sorry, he becomes I keep ruining the secret.
God damn it!
Sorry, but the whole time they don't show the red face or the red hooded guy. That's not the mutton chop guy. That's somebody else, a secret person.
But
that
he
you'll
hands
find out later.
he hands a scepter off to her,
Yeah.
and then that heavy metal music starts blaring again. We know what happens when the metal starts playing.
Yeah, she gets a scepter. She turns to the fucking guy. This is probably the guy who also controls the strobe light for Malachi Black. And she gives him the nod, and he hits that fucking music. And there's the suit of armor. Music starts blaring out. Bass in the back, fucking treble in the front. And great time ensues. And then she's like, I gotta read from... I need you to read some words back to me.
Did
This is
she pull out a whip?
Yeah, that comes after.
Okay.
that comes after. Okay.
It comes after the other one pops. I don't want to ruin the flow, but there's another hooded person that just pops into frame.
Yeah, Balto just pops up out of nowhere. Like it looks like he's like he's like he looks like Matthew. Obviously, he's like Batman.
Yeah.
Harvey just like pops out of nowhere and says, "If you want to live, you must confess."
Repeat after me. I am a whore. I am possessed by Satan.
This is Rose, right? Did we?
Yeah, Rose is the one still chained up.
Yeah,
So
they got rid of Good Tits is gone. They
Good
got
Tits
rid
is
of
gone.
that happened 50 years ago with the mutton chop guy. We'll debate this later.
We won't. We're done. We're closing this book and locking it
We're
up.
closing the ancestral book of perennial truth.
Yep, we're sending it down to the south where they will burn it.
Fair enough.
So Alicia starts whipping her. She's not learning her lesson. She's a bad girl.
Thank you, Matthew.
And then they're gonna burn her next. I think that she'll learn when they burn her. Hey guys, what's up Bernard and his guys been up to? Well, we find out next.
Oh my God, that's right.
No, we don't. We find out. Manfred's the pimp. We find his guys are.
It was. I couldn't tell them apart. I hate all the fucking nobodies in this movie. I couldn't tell them apart.
But why did he get a full name? I hate that about movies when they give a guy who has like no role, like an actual name. Like his name is Manfred Gray. He's not important, but he has more of a name than like anybody else in this entire movie. He's not important.
Do you think Manfred Gray is a werewolf? I might have to ask Lycanthropus Chris about this.
He sounds
but
like
that
a
sounds
Harry
like
Potter character, Manfred Gray.
It sounds like a werewolf to me. It sounds like a human werewolf name.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
All I know is his goons, because I guess the pimps needs goons too.
Everybody needs. Look, I've watched Twin Peaks. That guy had goons.
Okay.
Okay.
They finally find that purse of Rosalie.
Yeah.
They take it to Manfred, and he's like, "All right, we know where she is now." I don't know what the fuck. He's just like,
They got clues, at least. I don't. He's like, well, fuck, some shit's up. So now we gotta get our guys together and figure this out because that's money. I mean, that's merchandise stolen.
Yeah, and then they give a name to the other guy, Pascal. They're like, get Pascal and the boys together by 8 a.m. Like, this guy, Pascal, has no role. Like, there's no point in even naming this character. And then he says, well armed, of course. So, honestly, guys, like, when you guys said, hey, what Ginty movie should we do? This, like, what's coming up? I was like, oh, it's action. This is an action movie. Because I don't know if it's a horror movie anymore. I think it might be an action movie. Because Pascal and the boys, they're packing heat. Like, they're ready to fight. Like, it's pretty action-packed.
because when you think about it, nobody's killed in a maniacal way in this movie because none of the women are killed as far as we know.
No, there is zero. Okay, we're halfway. We're about halfway through. This is a good time to point out there is no Maniac killer in Mania or Maniac killer.
Yeah.
Like, the only killing that happens that we're about to get up on, and you're going to have to wait and find out where it happens. But all we know is that we got our pimp. He's like, guys, let's get our pimp guns together. We're bad guys, and we can get guns because that's the thing about gun laws. You can't stop a bad guy from getting a gun. We'll get our guns. And they got their guns.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we cut back to Professor Osborn. He's returning home. Matt, I need something else. Very ominous. Let's just leave it at that. I need something else from you.
Right.
But again, like Matthew is like coveting the bowl of sangria. Again, this sangria is like a character in this movie. Like its
name is Pascal.
It's in there like 5-6 times, but Matthew's like amazed at the pineapple in the sangria.
Yeah, it's like they see some kind of truth in it. Because, I mean, we do scan over it a lot of times, and I did, pause the movie and weep a little bit when the sangria was in front and center. So there's some kind of truth that this thing sees, like a mirror. I don't know what it is.
Maybe like Chuck Connor's talking to a trash can.
Yeah,
a metal
yeah,
trap. Yeah. It's a reflection.
exactly. There's
Kind of like a
something about it.
reflection on society. when you think
Yeah,
about it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Barrett.
It's weird.
All right, Lisi and Harvey. Now we know they're anti-Satanists, but who are they really working for? I don't know. But now they want to talk with Gondrand, Ginty. So they're in his waiting room, admiring his fine whip and riot gun, as Harvey calls it. It's just a shotgun. But
Oh.
he calls it a riot gun.
Well, he murders the fuck out of people with riot guns, so clearly it's a real riot gun.
And Gondrand comes out and greets them and pushes, like, there's a nice scene where, like, nice riot gun, and he, like, pushes the barrel away from his face. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Harvey was pointing it right. He of course is a fine Second Amendment loving human being, but yeah, he does point that gun right in.
And he's
Ginty's
like,
face.
let's take this to my kiss room, shall we?
And I'm thinking they're about to fuck right there.
No.
But Murray, you're just playing with words here, aren't you?
I am playing with words because it's the Kiss Pinball Room.
Yes.
As every man of elegance and style has. We all know that. The first thing you need is a Kiss Pinball machine.
Right.
That just tells a woman right there, you're a man of style.
Right. So Ginty, Gondrad, being the highfalutin he is, he sits them down. He's flipping his mullet all over the place, and he's just like, "Would you like some of the finest scotch from the Highlander days?" Yeah, you had to behead the bottle in order to bottle it itself, and then you had to cork it with the head of your enemy. That's how you make Highlander scotch.
Can I say something about the Kiss pinball machine?
Please.
So, the irony or the coincidence, perhaps, is that the last pinball machine I ever played on is the Kiss pinball machine, and that was only like a year and a half ago. And
You think it was the one from the movie?
It may have been, but it was in Gatlinburg. It was like a pinball place where it was only pinball machines. That's all you could do in there.
Oh, that's cool.
And I played the hell out of the Kiss pinball machine. So I didn't even know about Maniac Killer. And I played the shit out. It's the best pinball machine. I got to give this movie credit because it deserves it. Because
It's the classiest pinball machine.
Strutter's playing. You're feeling good.
Wait,
It's a great movie. Or it's a great pinball machine.
are we learning that you're like a pinball wizard? Is
I
that
love pinball. That's why I didn't finish college, because I was playing pinball the whole time. Awesome. Lethal Weapon 2, pinball machine. Ruined my college career.
That's amazing. I don't get how. What is the skill of pinball? Is it just knowing when
Cradle
to
it.
flip?
No. Come on, please.
No, I am a complete ignoramus about pinball. I grew up in the NES age.
Oh man, pinball is it's tactile. You can feel it. You can feel the machine inside of you. It's amazing. You can have a whole
tilt it.
episode.
You don't want to tilt.
All right, well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to do a whole episode about pinball because I am legitimately like. I don't get pinball machines. I don't get how people are good at them because when I look at
Have you
it,
played pinball?
yeah, I have.
Okay.
But all I see, the only interaction you get is the flip.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you
Oh.
read the table? I want to know all the intricacies, but yes, we can't do this in this episode.
You have not lived until you've cradled a ball.
All right. Well, I need to make a trip to the old Camden Yards, and you're gonna take me to pinball, and you're gonna
There it is.
explain it all.
I will. We got this. All right, we got to go back to the. This is a great scene, by the way, when he's in this like hoarder, cluttered, He calls it the living room, but I call it Gondrad's playroom.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
amazing.
do you want to explain more
I
about?
don't
We got the
know.
pinball.
Well, you got.
And we also missed. We also missed that we introduced a character. I think you guys called him Mattingly.
Yeah.
But his name is Major. His name is actually Major Domo.
Oh yeah, that's right. His name was Major Domo.
Major Domo.
Yeah.
And he's this old guy. He's kind of jacked. He looks kind of like Sven Thor's Svensson, whatever. Like
And Ole Thorson. He takes care of business in this movie.
he's pretty. He's wearing a vest. He looks pretty good. He's pretty.
Fucks
buff.
Manfred up.
Yeah.
But he is the one that introduces Gondrad to Lisa and Harvey. So he's in this thing. So they're now in there, and their drink Ginty, Gondrad is drinking, and he explains to Harvey and Lysia that he wants Countess Silvano, and he rambles on about like destiny and some other bullshit, like about how great he is and all this stuff, and they keep zooming in, and then he's like sniffing the drink.
Of course, it's what a classy person does.
It's Highlander Scotch.
Yeah, it's Highlander Scotch. He and then he orders them to leave, and he's there by himself. And this might be my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys take it from there. But it's so amazing. He just like has these flashbacks of Bo Spence and Count Silvano, like making him, think about how inferior he is and what a micro penis he has. All this stuff. And he's just sitting there seething, and then something magical happens.
Well, they zoom in on a hand. His hand is claw-like hand holding the fakest-looking candy glass. Like I think he had like a giant snifter glass first, and now it's just like a tumbler.
Yeah.
And his hand just crushes that candy glass.
Yeah. It would have been a highball glass before, and then it turned into a tumbler. It went from like a tall, skinny glass to being a short, stout glass.
And his hand's all covered in blood.
Unlike the greatest president of all time, who had giant hands. Robert Ginty has tiny hands.
Of course he has tiny hands.
That's why he can't operate the kiss table, because I imagine hands come into play somehow. Yeah. It's not about... I knew it. I got too small hands.
All about big hands.
Yeah, I don't have Chippendale hands. I have poor old Griff hands.
Crushes the glass. We see blood. Professor Osborn's probably going to analyze it later on. All right, now Manfred and his pimp posse have arrived, and they're ready to get Rosalie back. She's a good earner. They got to get her back.
They have somehow traced her to the Gondrad estate.
The purse.
By the purse. They're just like, the purse is here. That means they're at Gondrad's place. Right. I don't know how A led to B. That's all I'm saying.
Gondrad's he has an exterior doorbell. Like the doorbell is like
it's not just an exterior doorbell. It is literally 50 feet away from his estate, and it's a giant Liberty Bell, and there's 9 different cranks to operate it. You have to know how to fucking milk a cow to operate his doorbell.
I love that doorbell. It's like you have to hear it. Like it's not like it's connected to anything. It's just,
and it plays.
But it's funny that Manfred Gray shows up with this posse, the pimp posse, as you accurately say, with all these weapons, and then he's ringing the doorbell, like hey, hello,
be polite. Come on,
you know.
And the doorbell, it plays Rock and Roll Night Party every day. It goes down, 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 down.
I like it.
So Major Domo answers it, and he's just like, "Oh my god, these losers!" Fucking pummels the shit out of Manfred. Manfred tries to get all hard on him. He's like, "Motherfucker, I'm not a minor domo. I'm a major domo." And he just fucks Manfred up.
Yeah, poor old Manfred. Wait, Manfred gets fucked up or Mattingly gets
Manfred gets fucked up by Mattingly.
He did?
Yeah, he punches him in the gut, and then Harvey, he runs to like the junk drawer where they keep the shotgun shells. It's literally like a junk drawer. He opens up and just paws at him.
Okay. I just remembered something. You jogged my memory here. When Harvey and Lysia meet Gondrad at his house for the first time, they enter through the second floor.
That's right.
Yeah, they enter into this room, and then Gondrad is in the office that's right in there as well. And now when we're entering everything, we see that's the second floor, and they're entering on the ground level. This house makes no sense. They're doing some Stanley Kubrick level of this room does not really exist. And again, this movie needs more of our insight, but I can't do it. I can't watch this movie.
Like an Escher drawing. Like
there we go.
It's like this thing is huge. This estate, and there's literally like only about 800 square feet of this entire estate.
Yes,
it's a huge building, but all the rooms are tiny. Like that living room is tiny as fuck.
Yeah, I 100%
have an open concept at all. No one would buy that.
Yeah,
There's no kitchen and living room. It's no good.
Right. It's like a 25,000 square foot, but there's 1,000 rooms that are all like 10 by 10, just full of shit, clustered up like quails.
It's like a modern day McMansion. They all have these like tiny fucking
God,
a million tiny
Let's
rooms.
not go there. There's a big old establishment of McMansions going right next door.
So Harvey gets the shotgun shell. He's pawing at him, going through the junk drawer, grabs him, loads up. Manfred finally gets the drop on Mattingly, and like I think he like hits him in the gut with a shotgun or something.
Yeah.
And Harvey's like, you ain't gonna do that. So he opens up the window and just starts shooting everybody.
Yeah. And the surprising thing about this movie is that if a guy has an advantage with a gun, he wins.
Yes.
Like, you see that in so many other movies where our heroes, you know, get led into a trap or something. A guy has a clear shot and misses 9 times. No, nobody misses in this movie.
Well, he does miss one guy, but he makes up for it by pulling out a grenade. He throws a grenade at the last pimp posse guy and blows him up.
Oh, I like that.
So they round up all the bodies and they carry him to the sex dungeon. Rosalie's still chained up on the altar. And they're like, hey, fuck, we're down here. Why don't we whip her a little more? So they start whipping her again. While that's going on outside, the Countess happens to see Matthew stealing another fucking animal or he's carrying a sack. She just assumes.
Right. I don't know if she actually caught him. I thought she did catch him stealing another animal and sees the sack, and she's like, fuck, I gotta chase after this kid. Gets to a point where the horse, you know, the trees are too close together. She can't bring the horse, so she's like, I'm gonna get off the horse and chase him on foot. She gets over the hill, realizes he gets away, so she's like, fuck, I guess I'll go back to my horse. And just as she's about to get on that horse, there's Cue Ball there to say, nah.
Yeah, Harvey grabs her, throws her in the back of his...
There's an awful little
Ford
scuffle
Taurus.
here. The camera is just like going in and out of that. It's weird. He folds her up like a little baby, like he's gonna put her in luggage or something, and then tosses her into the back of the Jeep.
Matt watching the whole time, cackling.
A, B, C.
And then she leaves behind. What does she leave behind?
Her 6-foot-long golden riding crop.
Riding crop, which she whips the shit out of that horse. So she's definitely evil.
Yeah, and Calzavano knows she never goes anywhere without her riding crop.
Horse and humans alike. She loves whipping. That's her thing. That's her king. And
horse and half-wits. We don't know about other humans.
Okay. Excuse
Yeah.
Well, Doug, we know that Professor Osborn corrects that later. That Matthew is a human being. Scientifically.
So we're told.
Scientific. Yeah. He did the DNA test. He is, and he got Maury Shapovich on the case.
Shapovich?
What was that guy's name?
Maury Povich.
Maury Povich. He got Maury.
Not the father.
He got Maury.
Not the father of Matthew.
You are not the father, but
they have Matthew's face up on the screen, and they have like Doreen and Chuck Connors.
Everybody in the
he is not the father of Matthew.
He probably is the heir to the Count.
Oh,
would that make him a duke?
That's the twist.
I think that is the twist here, is that he's the duke of whatever town. Is this Cabot Cove? Where are we?
I don't know. All I know is Bernard's finally doing his job. He's dropping off some mail, and he sees a woman on horseback with a wig and goes, that's got to be Countess Silvana. We all know she rides horses with wigs on.
Yeah, and he's talking with like a woman who walks like 40 feet out of her house to get the mail from him. She's like, I know you're lazy and you want me to come get the mail. Otherwise, you just throw it in the fucking rainwater, which is what they do to the records when they bring them here. They just throw it in the rainwater. And so, yeah, she's like, she is getting to, because this was one of the barfly women too. She was at the bar. And, the blonde. And he's like, that's Countess over there.
But why is she riding over by the cemetery where that crazy Dr. Osborn lives?
Yeah. Well, Yeah, that's definitely the Countess because I recognize her. She's fucking hot to trot. Look at that hair. It's really good. She's got like the wig she wears when she rides that horse. And I mean, I don't know why she's going to the cemetery, but it's a free country.
But no, that's he gets suspicious about that. That's not where the Count lives. That's
Yeah.
on the other side of
She
town.
lives on the other side of town. Why would she go to the cemetery?
So he goes back to the bar, still playing that same song. Stuffed ferret, still there. And his as Phil pointed out, Max is there. His buddy Max.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You ain't gonna believe this. I saw the Countess. But get this. She's going over by the cemetery. We all know she never rides a horse by the cemetery.
Oh, forget about it.
We gotta go investigate.
Yeah, we gotta
see
go
what's going
investigate.
on
I
about
meant
it."
forget about it in the informal way. We need to not forget about it, and we need to go see it for ourselves.
Right. So they go over to Dr. Osborne's place, and they see Mattingly walking out with a human-shaped
Satchel.
satchel.
Sure.
No, it looked like it was just like a tarp taped up.
Yeah, no, it was a tarp taped up.
Yeah.
He's gone. He used to have the fucking like giant corn sack or whatever, something to keep like.
Apparently,
hemp
he's got dimwit strength because he's just holding up with one arm like over his shoulder. Human body, dead weight, dude. That's not easy.
It is impressive. This kid, as stringy as he looks, he's strong.
Yeah, dimwit strength. Or half-wit strength. I'm sorry.
Oh,
half-wit
oh,
strength.
Half-wit. Oh.
Half-wit. You're going to get canceled
Gonna have
for that
Twitter
one.
all over my ass. So, yeah, and Dr. Osborne's like seeing him off, like, "You go bury that." And they're like, I don't like what this sounds like. Yeah, that looks like a body there. So we go by the river.
Yeah, now we got our count because Silvano has
Count.
barely been in this movie. And his wife has been missing for
2 maybe 3 hours.
This movie does not help us with days, timelines at all. So she's been missing for a while now. And he's like, where did she go?
And this is where we see him with that amazing jacket, that tent
This
jacket.
is where the jacket. Ooh, that jacket.
And he's standing by the river, staring off into space. And they're like, "Boss, all we found was the riding crop. We know she goes nowhere without a riding crop." And then Postmaster goes, "I wish to call the police."
What the fuck was that? And then it's like Steve James. Like, that's Steve James, but it took me a while to recognize him.
Oh my God,
because
you're right.
They didn't have the powdered wigs on, but I noticed the mustache. Like, it was a
You're
weird,
right.
He had a like a justache.
Yeah.
Like Normad. The one guy, James, or is it Steve? I don't know which one was which. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was them. That's his crew. That's his security detail.
So the Count calls the police, as you should do.
Yeah.
And they all agree to meet up at the Dr. Osborne's place.
Yeah, he calls up the police, and the
Makes
police,
sense.
they're like trying to reassure him, like, oh yeah, that sounds very sophisticated. Of course, the Count, he brings all the water to the town. He's famous. Everyone wants to come get a selfie with him. So the police are gonna, do something on the Count's behalf, right?
Yeah.
And after the Count tells the whole story, they hang up, and he goes, the Count says to his goons, yeah, they ain't gonna do shit. Let's do this ourselves. Let's go get the guns. What?
It's
no,
not
help us.
logical.
Nothing else.
Why did he call the police? They said Morton said he would take care of it, and then he's like, "We shall have to handle this ourselves. Get to the weapons." Like, what the fuck? Like, why did he call the police? Like, the police are just going to get in the way, like, of him doing his, backwoods justice.
Right. This isn't following.
Well, he owns the
usual
town.
logic.
He can do whatever he wants.
Okay, he can.
Which makes you believe that he's got to be behind the sex code.
Morton or Silvano?
Silvano.
Morton is such a lazy cop. Like, and then it takes and then they cut to Morton, who's with Bernard. Bernard's like standing right there, like after the Count called him, explaining the whole story about how he saw the Countess and he saw the freaking horse, and he saw the body being dragged out of the professor's house by the halfwit, which is what they call him, the halfwit in this.
Yeah, halfwit.
Yeah, halfwit. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, Morton's interested in helping out because usually, as you said, he's just eating like a beef sandwich. with
Italian
Old Bay-
beef.
with Old Bay on it.
So the cops think that Professor Osborn's behind all this. Meanwhile,
Right.
the Count knows it's Gondron because he's been trying to steal his wife. So they go to Gondron's house. The cops go to Dr. Osborn's house.
Yes.
Right. Because Bernard was there to corroborate the story. Johnny corroborated the story and explained to him, oh, no, that is exactly what's happened. Osborn's up to some shit. So, of course, that's where the police go to first.
Right.
Without a warrant.
Without a warrant.
So they're only going to be there, and they looks like they drove up in a DeLorean.
With a siren on top.
They went through time, yeah.
Right.
They leave, or no, they just go in, and like you said, they have no warrant, but they're like, hey, we're just here to visit. You mind if we, like, hang out? And they go, you kidnapped Rose.
Right. They accuse him of kidnapping Rose. They're like, we heard all about your work in California. We know you like the young prostitutes.
They're in the lab right now, right? Because the sangria is still bubbling.
It's bubbling.
And there's a gurney, and they just notice there's blood all over this gurney.
Right. It's just like Bernard explained. Like, Osborn is such a dirty fuck. He never cleans up his blood. How is a scientist leaving...
It's Doreen's fault.
Oh, Doreen, yeah.
Doreen didn't clean up the blood because she's ugly and
She's
and
busy
she's not a
eavesdropping
hooker.
on conversations.
Yeah, because, I mean, even Connors, when they say, oh, we think a beautiful woman is at your house, and then he totally trashes Doreen and says, unless you can identify Doreen as a hooker or a jet-set beauty, and she laughs it off because she's just abused. She's abused by Osborn.
I didn't even consider that because I've been completely brain melted by a Ginty movie, but you are dead on. Wow.
She didn't clean up the blood, so it's all her fault. She's also a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And Osborn, but he's got the perfect cover. That's simply animal blood. Doesn't everybody have animal blood all over their house?
Right. I mean, I'm not operating on humans. I'm operating on
I did that in
animals.
California. I learned my lesson.
Dogs, like family pets, rabbits.
But little does he know, he's actually admitting to vivisection.
Which is illegal, according to Morton.
Illegal. Vivisection is very illegal.
Don't they also mention Matthew carrying the body shaped satchel, and they're like, he's like, that was a dog,
right? That
what
was
the fuck was it? A Great Dane? It was human size.
I feel like that was a
Size of a rabbit.
Yeah. I feel like that was how he ended up having to own up to the vivisection. Was he's like, no, it wasn't a human, it was a, and then they find the blood.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're finding all this evidence that's like, you're up to some really fucking weird shit. You need to tell us about it. And he's like, I don't have to tell you about shit. You don't even have a warrant. You came in here of your own discretion. Yeah, but this blood says I need to go get a warrant. And he's like, I'll go find Matthew, and he'll explain the whole thing to you. And they're like, that half-witted dimwit? He's like, excuse me, half-wit is a slur. Dimwit.
Dimwit, half-wit.
Yes.
It's dimwitted half-wit, please. I'll go find him. He'll exonerate me. And they're like, well, you're under arrest.
And Osborn has the perfect thing. He's like, "Ooh, my IBS is acting up. You mind?"
He wants to get his coat that's apparently hanging in the bathroom.
Well, you gotta wear your coat when you poop.
Yeah, right. You gotta wear, especially if you're wearing a Count Silvano coat, like wearing that and nothing else.
Yeah.
And then he just goes yoink and just walks out the back door. And then a cop out there has a machine gun and starts firing at him.
MP40.
I mean, he's so old that he somehow like matrixes the bullets.
Yeah.
Like he's so slow. And he just scurries away. And the cop's like, my hands are tied. He ran away. I can't do anything. Well, that's going on. Matthew's in the background just staring into the light from the DeLorean police car.
Oh no, that was a later scene.
Okay, well,
That's when they get to Gondrad's place. But oh my god, that scene was fascinating. I wanted to watch that for an hour. Anyways, so the Countess is waking up, and it just so turns out we're about to learn about who our real villain is. And God, we haven't spoiled it 9 times up to this point.
yeah. We finally see that the plan has come to fruition. What is his fucking plan? Is he a creep that's like kidnapping women, or is he doing good for society by torturing prostitutes?
No fucking clue.
What the fuck? But we get another dramatic shot where we clearly see the Countess, and then a woman with that beautiful wig hair goes into the front of the frame,
Beautiful.
pulls it off, and we see it's Lycia. Their fucking beautiful red hair.
Holy shit, that's amazing. That was Lysia the whole time? That's crazy.
But then Gondren,
dramatic turn.
Gondren, who covers all bases, goes, "Wait a minute. Where's that riding crop at?"
How the fuck did he know about the riding crop?
Everybody knows about her and her riding crop. You just said she hits horses and men with it.
Oh.
And that was part of their sex play.
That's Gondrad's thing.
Yeah.
He probably... Actually, no, this actually does make sense. I'm sorry, movie. I'm sorry, movie. No, this makes sense.
Go find it now! While that happens, we hear down, 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 down. The Count has arrived at Gondrian's. Mattingly goes out to meet him, gives the stink eye to him. And the Count just fucking like lays into Mattingly, right?
Yeah, he says, "Oh shit, that's a fucking brown-chested nuthatch over there." And Mattingly, of course, is a birder, so he looks over, turns back. Count fucking sucker punches the shit out of him. Mattingly has taken such abuse, verbally and physically, throughout this movie.
Every time Madeline gets beat down, that sets off Harvey to go run to the junk drawer to grab some more shotgun shells.
It is true. It's a Pavlovian effect. He hears Mattingly, ah! And he's like, "Oh shit, I need shells." Right. And he goes upstairs to that weird little attic room and gets some more shells. And again, we're so used to people getting guns and not hitting anybody. He comes down, and Count is smart enough to let his 2 goons come in, Steve and James, go in first. They both get shot with the shotgun.
Yeah, immediately, yeah.
Immediately.
And then the Count is taken hostage.
Yeah, the Count sees his men get shot and goes, "Well, I guess I'll walk in after." Literally just walks in right after. What the fuck is the Count's plan? My 2 men just got shot walking into this room. I guess I'll walk in there after him.
Yeah. Well, he says, he got the white flag. He's like, "I give up."
Oh, I missed the white flag.
And they start walking. And then when Harvey like
gets him on the staircase.
Yeah.
And he starts taking him up the stairs, and he says, "Hey, homo say what?" It's the 80s. I'm sorry, it's the 80s. And
Half
Harvey
would say what?
And Harvey goes, "Oh, what?" And he goes, "Oh." And then he just he softly tosses him to the ground.
Yeah. And then a goon guy, I love this Bo Swenson move. He literally bitch slaps the guy into submission. Doesn't even punch him. He just keeps slapping him repeatedly.
That's beautiful.
He's like, "Come on, come on."
That's definitely my favorite. There's like 3 guys that come out of nowhere, like, "Hey, you!" Like, who were they? They charged the Count because he had already knocked Harvey in the elbow, and he like slapped the shit. But the last guy, he like knocks one guy off the banister. Like the Count is like now like fucking like Jeff Speakman. He just like slaps the shit out of this guy. He just keeps slapping him, and it just humiliates this guy. And that just gives Harvey this great moment to recover, and and then the rest is history.
He did have a Jeff Speakman flashback to him pummeling a couch tipped over with sticks. Yeah,
and like we said, this is this magical house. They go up the stairs and somehow find their way into the dungeon in the bottom.
Again, the logic of this house. Like, look, I'm trying to put together my Dungeons and Dragons campaign for my players, and I don't think in these second floor leads to the basement type conditions, but apparently Frank White does.
And then we get the reveal that Gondron Gonorrhea he's the villain. He welcomes him into his lair. We see the Countess tied up to the altar.
Yeah.
They put the Count in a chair and tie his neck to it.
Yep.
And then we're like, oh shit. I guess the Count wasn't involved with the sex cult after all.
Right.
So what was that room that he went to in the beginning of the movie? It's the bathroom?
Bathroom.
Oh.
I don't know. Anyways.
Osborn's looking for Matt. He goes to this, like...
Let's remind everybody, Osborn is escaping the police right now.
Yes. Very slowly, because he's an elderly man.
Well, yeah.
Got his coat. He did get his jacket.
That's true.
Apparently, Matthew and Jason Voorhees are like roommates in this shack out in the woods.
That's exactly what it was. It looked exactly like Jason Voorhees, like his fucking lair. It looked like a Voorhees lair. But why? Oh my god, Matthew's clothes are like, I mean, I know they look like shit, but they don't look like he lives in a fucking lair.
Yeah.
Or Ted Bundy. Because Ted Bundy lived in the shack too and had tethered clothes.
Or is that Ted Kaczynski?
Or Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, Ted Bundy.
I meant,
Ted Kaczynski.
I meant Ted Kaczynski. I'm sorry.
Get your Teds right, motherfucker.
You know your Teds.
So he can't see him. He's like, he's not in his shack. Where could he be? I'm just gonna go home. The cops probably left by now, and they did. The perfect plan. I'm just gonna walk away and then come back.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I escape the police every time. I walk 5 minutes away, and they're just, we've done too much research, and I know after 5 minutes they go, our hands are tied, our hands are tied, our hands are tied, and they just leave. We've seen the story play out 1,000,000 times. I got a whole thing about that for our Chippy Tap. We'll go into it on that.
Okay. So yeah, the cops have left. So Matt shows up too, and this is the greatest scene of all time, where we've learned all that computer work with Matthew has paid off.
Oh boy, I don't know how it's turned into what we're about to see here. But I just know that me and Murray, we're not a man of charades. We talk to each other. We use eye contact, which is not charades. So, Phil, you're going to have to help us out. How does a dimwit talk?
Halfwit.
I fucked that up?
Yeah.
I went through the recesses of my brain to try to get that right.
Yeah.
How does a halfwit communicate
you're a dimwit, but no, he's
with
a
the doctor?
Yeah.
I said, obviously, Doc Osborn, isn't Norman Osborn, Dr. Octopus? Is that right?
No, Norman Osborn's a Green Goblin.
Oh, the Green Goblin.
But he's not Doctor. He's Professor Osborn.
I'm sorry. Professor Osborn returns to his place, and he's like, where the fuck is Matthew? He calls him a son of a bitch. So he's pissed.
Oh.
Like, Mr. I'm so happy.
Well, because he's pissed about he didn't dispose of the dog properly. So he's like, all this trouble is because of Matthew.
Yeah, he's like, where's the dog, Matthew? And this is where charades enter for the first time in the movie. It's kind of amazing, and then Doc gets really pissed because he's trying to tell him with his hands, and then Professor insists that Matthew use words because he spent all that time, frankly, training him and teaching him on how to actually speak.
Well, at least say A, B, and C, yeah.
Yeah, and he discovers that the dumbass, just put the dog in the river, so there's no proof. But Matthew decides to please the professor that he learns something else really important. And the professor is a little confused, but he starts slapping his hands on his knees and, to help pantomime something. And he's trying to guess, but the pantomimes aren't working. So where do you think he goes? He goes right over to that Commodore 64.
Oh my god!
And this is magic. I love this scene.
No, this is magic. He's the original Pixar studio.
He is the original Pixar studio. He shows the professor, and you know what? The professor, who's been super intelligent about everything, and he's the know-it-all about how illegal stuff like Galileo has solved all the world's problems. Mr. Smarty Pants. But you know what? Matthew puts him in his place. He shows him how to really use a computer, and he pulls up like an MS Paint type thing, and
Yeah.
then he shows him what he's trying to say with the slapping knees, and he takes like the tail of a horse and a graphic.
Pin the tail on the horse, yeah.
Pin the tail on the horse, and then the professor realizes he's saying horse, and then he goes to another computer because you can't run 2 programs on the same computer. And he goes to another monitor, like Bernard said.
We can't piece it together. He's got to see the horse and then the next thing. Yeah.
And then he puts hair on a head.
He puts a wig on a head.
He puts a wig on, and they're like, the Countess!
Right. We all know she wears a wig.
But she rides her horse.
Long hair, but
Right.
the funny thing is, the Countess doesn't have long hair,
No,
so
she
that's
doesn't.
weird to me.
Oh.
She has short, like kind of butch hair, like it's kind of ugly hair.
Everything we've seen is her with kind of shorter, curlier hair,
Yeah,
like a
like a lady
50s
with long
hairstyle. or
hair.
something.
They didn't have the technology back then to do the graphics.
Yeah, that's
Short
it.
hair.
So it's like, oh, horse, Countess, and then the coup de grace is they go to another screen. And it's a Jeep without a tire. He puts the tire on the Jeep.
Yeah.
Because Change the Tire was such a fun game I grew up with after I played pinball for so long. I'd go over to
We all
change the
did
tire.
that. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it clicks for Chuck for Osborne. And he's like, aha! We know now it's horse, woman, Jeep. We all know the whole story. I'm gonna call the police.
Oh,
And then he's like the cat that ate the canary. It's like, hello, Officer Morton. I'm home.
This is such a fucking Murder She Wrote wrap up right here. Like, oh, we got the half-wit to finally learn how to speak and animate, and he's giving it all away.
The cops arrive, and they're ready to haul in our professor. And he's just sitting there smoking his cigarette. He's just like, Matthew, why don't you explain to these dimwits what's
You see,
going
Murray
on?
used the slur.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the non-half-wits.
Exactly.
Right.
Turned it around.
Exactly.
And then Matthew lays it out for them, and they're like, that makes perfect sense.
Right. Matt goes into his whole charade pantomime.
How
act
does this
again.
tie into Gondrin at all? We know that the Countess... First of all, the Count told everybody that his wife has been kidnapped while riding a horse.
Okay.
What do they learn new? Is Matthew gonna take them to the...
It's Matthew's mother.
Oh, yeah, because she is listening. She is listening, by the way. She's got a little smile on her face.
He's
Right.
such a jerk. Like, no wonder Osborne makes fun of her because, like, she's the one that tells like when the police enter to talk to the professor, he's sitting there smoking that cigarette, and then Doreen actually is the one that says, "Wait a minute, Matthew knows what happened," and then what is that? What is this scene for? Like, Osborne goes and talks to Doreen and is like, how did you know? And she does this thing like, I was peeping on you guys. Like, it's so stupid. It is.
Once again, how does any of this shit lead to Gondrin's house?
Right. This movie was
Nothing.
made with like 2 ideas, and now they're like, oh shit, how do we wrap this? And we're at the how do we wrap this part. All we wanted to know is like, oh yeah, it was this guy in the sex dungeon with a fucking hot iron. And so we're finally getting to...
That's my favorite Clue game.
I know. We're finally getting
It was
to...
Professor Plum in the sex dungeon with a hot poker.
Yeah.
So we're in the sex dungeon, and Alicia, they're like, hey, we're here. Why don't we just start torturing the Countess? So she starts up the fire and for the hot poker. Get a nice shot of Ginty in the background, steepling his hands like Mr. Burns.
Oh, yeah. And he's got his fucking worst turtleneck sweater on. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter how thick the neck is on your turtleneck. It won't hide those jowls. No. You're a hideous human being.
It accentuates.
And the world is a better place without you walking in.
Just as Alicia starts a fire, we hear, down, 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 down. He's like, God damn it, the cops are there. Stall them.
Well, he's got... Okay.
Mattingly's like, the cops have
We do
arrived.
need to mention that in 81 or 87, He is the first person to have closed circuit security camera footage. He's got the Ring doorbell before it was the Ring doorbell. And so they start ringing the bells and playing the song, and then the Ring doorbell starts up, and he's recording, and he's like, fuck, it's the goddamn police.
So he tells Mattingly to stall them for like 5 seconds while he comes back. He goes,
He's got to get Lysia, and he's got to get Harvey all ready. He's like, let's get our story straight. This is all that's going on here. Nothing big deal. Don't worry about it.
And these cops, they have never have warrants.
Never.
So they need to talk Gondra into letting them in the house.
Vampire logic.
Right. And he just lets him in, I guess. I don't remember. I kind of just zoned out at this point in the movie. But, well, what happened? No.
Oh, they all go up like a major domo, Mattingly. He basically is asked to stall, and then Ginty orders everybody out of the dungeon into Gondran's playroom.
Right.
Yeah, the pinball.
They're ready to go.
Right.
At the Kiss pinball machine.
While that's going on, Rosalie, we all forgot about. She's laying on the ground in the dungeon.
Before we even do Rosalie. Okay, I got the whole scene. I memorized this scene.
Okay.
Okay. So Mattingly comes out to welcome the police, and he says, oh, yes, I'll let you all in. The master is waiting for you. Lets them all in. They go into the maybe attic, maybe living room. We can't decide because they go in on the ground floor, but somehow they end up in the attic room first. And then they descend into the living room, which is the ground floor, but isn't the ground floor. I don't know. Again, movie magic. But then Mattingly is standing outside and leers over. And I know you wanted to talk about, well, at least mention this, because he sees that it just so happens Matthew was in the trunk of the car or something, like Speed Racer, who always keeps his monkey mechanic in the back.
Yeah. And Chim Chim.
And so Matthew has gotten out of the car, and again, I think the actor himself decided this is what a half-wit would do. And he steers into the police light swirling around, because it's still swirling around.
Well, Mattingly looks on in total disgust.
And he puts his his hand over his mouth like, oh my dear God, I live on this world with this human being. So now we're going inside, and so Gonorrhea, welcomes this new guest from the attic into the living room. He's like, it's much more comfortable in my living room.
While that's going on, first, Rosalie comes too.
Yeah, thank you.
And they're like, because the Countess is shackled to this altar. And first, like, the Count's like, hey, get me out of here, because he's got ropes. Do you think it'd be easier? I don't know what's going on with Rosalie. She's been tortured for days.
She's full of like little slashes and everything. We can see that. It looks like jam, or maybe jerk sauce, as we learned about in Predator 2. I didn't realize people did that, but they do it.
And she's like struggling to get the shackles off of the Countess. Okay,
yeah.
Then we cut up back to the room. So we're like, all right, she's going to free the Countess, or so we think.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the attic. Garage, bathroom. We don't know where we're at.
Right now,
we're in the kiss room.
We went to Gondrad welcomed them into the attic, and then he's like, "It's much more comfortable down in my fucking pinball room." And they're like, "Hello, do you see these wrists? They're like steel. I'm ready." Apparently, wrists play a big part of pinball, and I don't know if that's true.
They do. Giant. My wrists are huge.
Phil is confirmed. He's got huge wrists.
Wrists. Important.
I didn't know those triggers were pressure sensitive, but I guess they are. And so
like, Gondran's like, hey, you're welcome to check out my attic, my pinball room, my bathroom,
master bedroom.
Well, how about the cellar? No.
Why would a good cop like you want to check out a dirty cellar like that? I just keep my
chained up hookers.
Shit, I got no excuse for this one. Harv, what do I keep down in the cellar that they don't want to see? Feces. My plumbing's broke. It's just full of shit.
And they're like, we don't have a problem with that. Oh, look over there! And then everybody just opens fire on everybody.
Well,
This
Ginty starts. Okay, we
this
got to
is-
point out.
is this a Reservoir Dogs?
This is Reservoir Dogs. Every character, they ran out of money, and every character dies in like 12 seconds.
Yes.
And there's a nice artistic shot where we see like a piece of yellow stained glass that just breaks.
Yeah.
There's a close up of that.
There was Gondred was the first shot. He grabbed a chair as if this were fucking wrestling and broke it over somebody's back. And
Morton.
yeah, we just get zoom-ins on people getting shot. Like, it's too close to understand who it is getting shot, but we're left to assume that everybody got shot. And Gondred escapes.
Yeah, Harvey and Alicia get shot. They're dead. And,
Yes.
and half the cops get killed.
Yes.
But Harvey was playing the Kiss pinball machine, but he was packing heat on the right side, hidden, and that's where he had his old gun. He was pretty slick.
These pinball terminologies, packing heat on the right, I really want to know about this.
Yeah, it's important.
I have to bring it back for a pinball tip.
No, I already said that.
So, what do you if you're not going to run up to the roof like Predator, you run to the basement. You always run to the place you can never escape. If you want
that's the
someone's
smartest
after
way.
you. So he runs in there, but there's a little like gate on the sex dungeon. So he closes it, locks the cops out. The cops are like hands tied. We don't know. We can't get through this. Rosalie plays dead again. She couldn't get the shackles off of the Countess.
Right.
So is Ginty like, oh, if I'm in here, I guess I'll torture the Countess some more? Like, I don't know what he's trying to do.
He is savoring his victory because the cops are watching him do it, but they can't get to him because they're pressing their face.
He's cucking the cops.
Yeah, Ginty locked the gate so they can see him, and then they try to shoot the lock, and then they run out of bullets, and so they're watching Ginty like caress the Countess while Rosalie lurks below.
Right, and Rosalie is just like, not this time, motherfucker, and stabs him with that fire poker, right in the kidney.
Well, was it a fire poker? It was like a
Spear.
axe or some shit with like the point on there.
Halberd?
Something like that.
I
don't know. He stabbed it. Meanwhile, Matthew just walks in and he's just staring through the bars.
Oh no!
What? How did Matt get beyond Mattingly to get to the basement where they have this other entrance and this other gate where he's pressing his face because he's not in the same gate as the police, and the police were yelling, "No, don't kill him. We need to bring him to justice." She's like, "How about this fucking justice?" And murdered him. Yeah. Murder she wrote.
And Ginty just like, and does an hammy kind of death scene.
That was the biggest disappointment. They should have just. It was just such a weak killing of the villain. They should have chopped his head off or something, or lit him on fire or some shit. But
he should have had like the Count like rip the fucking like ropes off himself and like crush his head or some shit.
It's
like
never
that.
not enough with Ginty. Like, just stabbing him is not enough.
Yeah,
Light him on fire, pour acid into his face, have somebody spit acid.
Yeah, if he had been like stabbed and then fell face first into that cauldron that Lissy had started up, that would have been great.
That would have been good. I'd have been great.
But we may not like it, but Matt loved it, and he ends the movie.
Let Phil close out this movie for us.
Well, Matthew presses his face in between the cops. He like presses his face up into the gate, and he looks forward at the carnage ahead of him, and Ginty just laying down, covered in blood from the whatever it was, the spear, and he says, "Bad man dead, good."
Bad man dead, good.
And there you have it, people.
There's the movie. But the problem I have with this is, when did he learn? He learned bad man.
Yes.
And he learned good because the computer says good morning.
Okay.
He never learned dead. There's a plot hole.
Oh, I mean, he never really learned context either. He just learned how to regurgitate shit. So the fact that he was able to put it together.
Dictums. There was just the dictums.
Yeah.
The dictums.
The dictums helped him figure out dead on his own.
Oh, got it.
Look, all I can say is bad movie. Over. Good. I don't know what to say, Phil. You either have balls of steel or the brains of a half-wit to pick this movie to make your debut appearance.
I enjoyed it. It was fun talking about Maniac Killer. I mean, honestly, the way I found this movie is I went onto Tubi because I didn't want to spend any money on a Ginty movie. So and I looked up Ginty, and I saw this, like, if you actually see the poster, which says Mania Killer, it doesn't say Maniac Killer. It's like this somebody, like, with, like, paint by numbers, like, painted the face of, like, Chuck Connors.
Yeah.
And Robert Ginty. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard of this movie. And I pushed play, and it was love at first sight. I knew you all would love this movie, and I said, this is it.
I have to agree with that. That cover of the movie is terrifying, and I kept staring at it. And I will say, if it weren't for Matthew, I would not have been able to make it through this movie. It would have been slow and weird, and just I don't know what the fuck they would have done without Matthew in here. They introduced Matthew, and I was like, oh my god, what is this movie supposed to be about? And then the computer scene. No. And it gets you in and out. 80 minutes. In and out. So I gotta say,
if nothing, it's efficient. Yeah, it's efficient.
Exactly.
It's efficient and efficient. It's amazing.
You know what? We never asked Phil. What was your first Ginty experience?
You know, the first time I noticed Ginty was probably Whitefire. Honestly, Whitefire and then that's like the episode that you guys did on Whitefire is one of the best episodes of anything ever created. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but to me, like, your disdain for Ginty, it was like the funniest thing. I was laughing so hard at just the way you hated Ginty. And I had to be a part of it. So hopefully you guys are wearing your Ginty t-shirts right now. I'm sure you are.
Of course we are.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I wore mine 2 days ago, and I went to the ice cream shop, and they kicked me the fuck out. So I just want you to know the power of the Ginty shirt is that it's not just us that are offended. I went to Ferndale, accepting of all kinds. Pride Week's about to happen down there, where they shut down all of 8 Mile and Woodward, the two biggest streets that Michigan knows of. And they were like, we're not accepting of that kind, though.
Nope.
That's the one exception to Pride Week. No Ginties. And I wore a Ginty shirt.
So the funny thing about the Ginty shirt, I think that everyone should know, is that I actually tried to create the Ginty shirt with one company online, and they would not make it for me. They would not create the Ginty shirt.
Sorry, we don't do obscene material.
It was against their rules and policies to recreate anything Ginty.
Are you gonna take that?
Trick Zazzle or I had to trick whatever company I ended up. I think it's Vistaprint. I had to trick them into creating it because I think they probably had a similar policy.
Oh, okay. I mean, take this court to the fucking Supreme Court. It's Pigeon texting us right now, guys. What the fuck? Where's my Ginty shirt? He wants a Ginty shirt too.
All I know is most people go through their life accomplishing nothing. It's just there's waste of space. But I'm proud to say, Griff, you and I have single-handedly turned the world against Robert. It's just too bad he's not alive to experience it. That would be the ultimate. But I'm proud of what we've done, Griff, turning the world against Robert Ginty.
It's probably our greatest accomplishment ever. You know, when we get to those pearly gates and they're trying to get us in there, because neither of us really care about going. No. We don't need to be in there. But
the only reason I don't want to go to hell is I know Ginty will be there too, and I don't. I don't want to spend time with
I
Ginty.
don't want to spend time with Ginty.
No.
Because he's going to talk to us. Guys, I see you have a problem with one of my movies. Let me explain what I was going for. No, Mr. Ginty. Do not explain Cubs versus Yankees to us. We already did it. You're horrible.
So, first of all, thanks for coming on, Phil. It was nice to have you on.
Pleasure.
I'm
Real
sure.
pleasure. Thank you, guys. I really had a good time. It was fun.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to bring you back on and make you, do a movie that we like instead. Maybe a hero that you disagree with.
No, you need to start thinking about what a TV cop is your spirit animal,
cop
so you
a
can
feel.
cop in a feel. Yeah. That's going to be our new segment for all our guests. Let's start thinking about that.
We've been having way too much fun, so yeah, a cop procedural that you enjoy, because we need to get you on for that.
I'm on it. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I want to apologize for everyone having to listen to us talk about Ginty, but next week this movie was so cerebral that we need something really dumb for next week, Griff.
So dumb.
By the way, I'm giving Griff a break. We've been having so many guests on lately.
And shows. This has been a tight week for me.
Right. So we're gonna cut down on the guests. But we're gonna do not a first. This is our second time. We're actually going to be guesting on somebody else's podcast in a couple weeks. The Cult Film Companion podcast will be having an appearance by us, where we'll be talking about a little movie by a guy named Sam Raimi, a fellow Detroiter. So look for that in a few weeks. But next week, like I said, we got too cerebral this week. We talked about, what was it, indents? What the fuck was that thing?
I don't know.
We're going to be doing a stupid movie, and I don't think it gets any stupider than the Highlander series. So we're going back to the world of Highlander. This is a movie neither one of us has seen. I don't even remember the subtitle. I only know it's Highlander 3. I think it's called Forbidden Dimension or some shit, like Final Dimension.
Okay.
I don't fucking know. I've never seen it.
I'm excited for something dumb.
So we'll be doing that next week for Highlander 3.
Nice.
See you next week. Keep it warm.